And I was talking to my dad and just kind of spitballing ideas. And he's like, well, you like sports, you like the Red Sox. Why don't you try to work there? And I think my first reaction was, well, why would they want me? What do I have to offer them? Like, why would the Red Sox want me to work for them? And he's like, well, why wouldn't they? And I think that's sort of a theme throughout my life. Like, why would they want me? Like, I'm not good enough for that. It's something I've always kind of struggled with.
Welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast, a podcast about women who work in sports. I'm your host, Jahaan Blake. After 15 years of working for 3 major league teams, including the Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Chicago Cubs, I discovered the one thing I loved the most was helping women in sports shatter glass ceilings and take their seat at the table. I loved it so much that I made a business out of it. I have the honor of coaching high-performing women in the sports and entertainment industry and supporting them as they go after exactly what they want in their career. So if you are feeling tired of waiting on the sidelines, done being overlooked for promotions, and you're ready to pull ahead of the pack and take your career to the next level, girl, I'm here for it. I also created the Game of Her Own podcast to support you as well. We are here to share the stories of incredible women who work in sports and entertainment. These leaders and trailblazers will inspire you with their success and the lessons they've learned along the way to the top. Ladies, there is nothing like women empowering women. I am so honored you're here.
Have you ever thought about trying to get a job at a certain organization and thought to yourself, why would they want me? If you have, you are not alone. Stephanie Maneikis had that very thought when she was thinking about working for the Red Sox. Listen, I am so grateful that she didn't let that limiting belief stop her from trying to land a job with the Boston Red Sox. Now, let me tell you why. I had the honor of managing Stephanie when she first started as a Fenway ambassador back in 2006. And now she's the vice president of fan services and entertainment. She has spent her entire career working for the Red Sox, and she's kind enough to share her journey of how she went from a part-time minimum wage role to an executive for one of the greatest sports and entertainment organizations. Obviously, that last part, I might be a little biased. All right, Game of Her Own listeners, I am excited for you to hear how you can turn those limiting beliefs around and still have an incredible career. Stephanie, thank you for sharing your story with all of us. And to all of you listening, thank you for being here. Let's do this. Stephanie, welcome to the Game of Her Own. I am so excited that you're here.
Thanks, JB. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Of course. All right. This has been a long time in the making. You've been on my list for a while. Why don't you, before we get into everything, take us back in time and tell us when you first fell in love with sports?
Honestly, for as long as I can remember, sports have just been a part of my life. I don't remember a time when they weren't. I mean, we've got pictures that my mom has hanging up in her house of my brothers and me playing with a ball in the backyard. They're in diapers. We're all just running around. And that's just kind of how we grew up. I mean, my dad played football, hockey, baseball growing up. And like I said, I don't remember a time when sports weren't a part of my life. It was just ingrained in me from the beginning. So I don't think I can pick a specific moment of, this is the day I fell in love with baseball or I fell in love with sports, but I'm a Boston girl, born and raised, still live here. And, we grew up cheering for the Red Sox, cheering for the Celtics, cheering for the Patriots, not so much the Bruins, nothing against the Bruins, but we just weren't really a hockey family. That was probably the one sport that none of us ever played.
Yeah, I never got into hockey either.
Yeah.
I tried. Like in college, I tried, but I was like, it's really hard to follow. I can't believe I'm going to say this on air, but it's really hard to follow the puck. And it just didn't gain my interest like other sports did. Like I didn't watch baseball until college.
Really?
And yeah. And so I just used to think it was like watching paint dry, but that was on TV.
Sometimes it is. Let's be honest. It is.
100%. But it wasn't until college, and it might have had to do with the guy that I was dating who was playing baseball, but still I was like, oh, this is fun. Yeah. Hockey, not so much, but
yeah, I don't know. We never really got into it. Nothing against the Bruins, love the Bruins, cheer for them, but just wasn't our thing.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to brag on you for a second because you born and raised in Boston and then you went to Harvard.
I went there. Yeah. It surprises people sometimes. They're like, you really? Are you sure? I'm like, Harvard Extension School? No, you like no, the real Harvard. It's the real one.
Are you sure? Just for the record, everybody, I was not surprised back in the day when I first met Stephanie that she told me she went to Harvard. I was like, oh shit, watch out.
Oh no, please. And it's like, I went there. Yes, I'm proud of it. I am a Harvard graduate, graduated in 2007, which feels like, oh my gosh, it just feels like a lifetime ago now. I worked really hard, And for a long time, I was almost a little embarrassed, I think, to tell people that that's where I went. When people would ask me, where'd you go to school? I'd say, oh, I went to school in Boston. I didn't like to say that I went to Harvard. And because I read an article once about dropping the H-bomb, it was called. And it's like, once you tell people that you went to Harvard, they're like, oh, excuse me, like, sorry. And just, that's not how I am. But I just, I went there. It was great.
That's really funny because all of obviously living in Boston for 10 years, I have friends that went to Harvard and that's how everyone is. They're like, yeah, I went to school in Boston. Like when people, I'm with them and they meet new people and I'm like, dude, you went to Harvard. Why aren't you telling them? I'm going to brag about you. Fine.
Right.
You went to Harvard. That's amazing. But yeah, all of my friends that went to Harvard are that way. All right. So tell me, when did you realize that you wanted to work in sports? And did you always want to work for your hometown team?
No, absolutely not. Growing up, I thought, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a teacher. I'll do something like that. I mean, I majored in history in college, and I always thought I'm going to be a history teacher. And I actually, shortly before I got the job as an ambassador at the Red Sox and started working for you, I had started doing this undergraduate teacher education program at Harvard to start moving that forward. But it was the summer before my junior year. And up until that point, I'd done a couple internships and a couple things, but nothing really clicked. And, I went to Harvard. There's a lot of smart people there and people are starting to talk about med school and law school and going to work on Wall Street. And I was like, geez, what am I going to do? I still wasn't totally sure. And I was talking to my dad and just kind of spitballing ideas. And he's like, well, you like sports, you like the Red Sox. Why don't you try to work there? And I think my first reaction was, well, why would they want me? What do I have to offer them? Why would the Red Sox want me to work for them? And he's like, well, why wouldn't they? And I think that's something that sort of a theme throughout my life. Why would they want me? I'm not good enough for that. It's something I've always kind of struggled with. But, long story short, I was lucky enough to secure an interview with Dr. Charles Steinberg, and he saw something in me that he liked. I must have said something that he liked. And next thing I know, he's handing me a Post-it note with Sarah McKenna's desk number on it. And he's saying, call Sarah McKenna and tell her, I think you'd be a great candidate for a potential Fenway ambassador. And I'm like, okay, I have no clue what that means. Sounds good. So I go home and I start calling Sarah incessantly because she's not picking up her phone. And I'm like, no. I need to get this job. How do I get this job? And finally you reached out to me and here we are.
That's so funny.
So I'm still here.
Wait, so did you say that line to me that Charles thinks you would be a good ambassador?
Oh, I'm sure I did. You're probably like, okay, whatever.
Wow. And what year was that?
That was 2006.
That was 2006. I'm really bad at math, but 2021.
Yeah, me too. Don't ask me. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. 2020 was my 15th season. So I've been here for a long time. I am officially old.
Wow. All right. So let's call it now 16 seasons ago, right? This happened. And tell everybody what you do now, what your title is at the Red Sox.
So now my title, it's very long, but it is Vice President of Fan Services and Entertainment. I started as a Fenway ambassador and now I'm here. So it's pretty cool. I've really, to use the cliche baseball analogy, I've grown up in the system. I've grown up here at Fenway Park. I've grown up at the Red Sox. I, started as a 19-year-old kid who didn't know anything about anything. And I still don't know everything, far from it, but I've learned a lot here. I have learned so much.
All right. So 19 years old, first job in sports, Fenway ambassador. How much were you making?
I'm pretty sure I was making $6 or $7 an hour.
I had no control over that.
Killing it.
All right. So you're making $7. Let's call it $7 an hour.
7 sounds better than 6.
I feel like you had to be more than 6. Like, I think I started at like 6. So you,
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean,
to...
we could Google what minimum wage was in 2000, 2006. But 7 sounds good. 7 sounds fair.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's why I tell people, I was like, we made minimum wage and didn't even care.
Didn't
like,
blink an eye. Nope.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I would do this for free. Like, what? And that theme still goes on in my life. And my like business coach has to remind me that like, if you want to be in business, you cannot do stuff for free. I was like, I love this. This is so much fun. I love coaching women. Okay. So $7 an hour, minimum wage, whatever, like, but you're part-time, correct?
Yes. Part-time, still in school. I mean, I worked there that summer after classes ended for the year, but yeah, I didn't graduate from college till 2007. So was working there part-time throughout my last year and a half of college.
When did you feel like I have something to offer the Red Sox?
Really, probably not until, to be perfectly honest, until probably that 2007 into 2008 off season. Because I had graduated from college, I had a failed trip to China to go change the world in an orphanage, and that didn't go very well. I came home pretty early after I got there, and you guys welcomed me back, and you didn't make me feel, I was feeling pretty bad about myself at that time. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. And you were like, just come hang out with us. This is awesome. And, 2007 World Series year, so fun. Got myself out to Colorado in time for game 4. And then after that postseason run, I just never really left. I just started working more and more in the office and getting to know you better, getting to know Sarah better, and really starting to find my place and find my footing. I felt like I was starting to connect with folks in the office and thinking this is a place that I could really be.
So it was really about, if I'm hearing you correctly, the connection you were making, and that the fact that people were, including myself, were excited that you were back and like welcomed you in. So it was like right setting sort of culture, and then just being able to connect with other people allowed you to see like, oh, I can contribute here. I can bring value. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think my relationships with people have always played a big part in my life, right? I mean, whether it's, at home or at work, just feeling connected, feeling like I fit, feeling like I have my place is really important to me, and for me to feel like I'm in a solid spot.
So you came back from China. What'd you do? Like, were you thinking, okay, I'm going to hang out and be an ambassador forever? Or like, what was your plan? Or did you not have one?
I honestly didn't have a plan. I said, let's just, let's do this. Let's see where it goes. I think I applied for one position outside of sports. I honestly can't even remember the program now. And I was like, I'm going to get this. Like, I'm awesome. I'm like made for this role. I'm pretty sure it had to do with something in education. I didn't get it. I got super deflated. I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to go anywhere in my life. So I think I'll just keep writing fan packs for now and talking to Mr. Kane and answering the phones. And I mean, it's 2021 and I'm here still. It's just amazing. It really is. I had no plan. I still don't have a plan. I still don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, but I'm happy right now. And that's good enough for me.
Well, yes, exactly. Like, you're happy. That is the most important thing. So you're happy, you're feeling fulfilled at work. But when you're out of college and you're like, I got to make a career for myself, I have to start making more than, I'm sure we bumped you up until $8 or $9 an hour.
For sure. Definitely.
Right. Like, at the end of the day, you need to get out of the hourly, sort of pay cycle. So I know you didn't have a plan, but like, take us through, now I know what happened, but like, take us through what happened and like what you were thinking during that time.
I mean, I pretty much did the part-time, full-time thing. You can't see me, but I'm using air quotes, part-time, full-time thing for almost a full year. I mean, going in, 2007 ended, into 2008, and just taking on more projects at Fenway. And, in my mind, just putting my head down and doing the work, raising my hand for any and every opportunity that came my way, wanting to prove myself, wanting to, make sure that people knew that I was someone who could be counted on to take on a project, to get it done well. And then, right place, right time, right? I mean, things happen in life, and you, my manager at the time, were leaving to pursue another opportunity in baseball with a different team. And that opened up a full-time position at the Red Sox. And because I had already been doing the job kind of for the past year. So, I had conversations internally with folks and was promoted to a full-time position in January of 2009 as coordinator of fan services. And I remember being annoyed at the time. I was like, well, Jahaan was a manager. I should be a manager. And Sarah was like, you'll be a manager when you're doing the job, but right now you're going to be a coordinator. And I said, okay, well, I'm just happy to have health insurance. So that's nice. But that's really how I got my full-time start here at Fenway. And now, I have students and people are reaching out to me saying, do you have advice for me? What should I be doing? What was your kind of formula to your success? And I'm like, you're asking me for advice? Oh my goodness. What can I tell you? And I said, honestly, the formula for everyone is different, right? But for me, I think it was timing, hard work, and a little bit of luck. I think those three things were my formula to get my start as a full-time employee. And that was what worked for me.
Yeah, it was all about that timing. And you played it well, it sounds like, right? So you said you talked to other people within the organization. So I was leaving, you knew like there was an opportunity there. Were you just socializing the idea to other people? Like, I want to take Jahaan's spot. Like, how did you approach it?
I was plotting it for a while. I was plotting to take No, these weren't social conversations. These were, serious conversations with folks within the operations world who knew what the job was. And I sat down with them and said, this is why I think I can do this. This is why I think I'm already doing this, and, how I can continue to grow the department and grow in the position.
Are you talking to people like outside of HR? Are you just talking to, you just said operations, pay attention, Jahaan, but like they have influence maybe on who, you know what I mean? Like helping you get there. But like, what was your point in talking to them, since Sarah at the time, and you guys, Sarah McKenna, she's episode number something. And I will link to it in the show notes, but Sarah, I worked for Sarah, Stephanie still works for Sarah. So she was the one who's going to make that decision. So what, like, you're not talking to her.
No. And I think she had wanted me to have conversations with Jonathan Galula, who, runs the operations of the entire organization on the, business operations side, and just, wanting to make sure that, hey, this is a big thing. This is a big deal. Is this, somewhere that you want to be and something that you want to commit yourself to? Because I think everyone kind of felt like I was the natural fit, right? It wasn't a job that they posted for externally. Because like I said, I had already been doing the job, working so closely with you over the past year, but just making sure that this was a commitment that I wanted to make. Because as we all know, working in sports is a commitment. It is something that no one takes it lightly. All the women that you've had on your podcast so far, I mean, total rock stars. And it's something that they have committed to and that they have thrown themselves into. And I think it was just making sure that I was ready for that.
Yes. Okay. So you got the job. I remember we went to Capitol Grill or Abe and Louie's, one of those. And I remember that, like, when I was leaving and I was like, all right, I was like, this is all you. Obviously I had no say in it, but like, I was like, this is all you. And like, I remember toasting to you, I was like, see you at the top, I'm heading to LA. And you plotted and you got my job. So I'm just
I plotted.
But like, so you stepped into that role. Like, what was that like, managing a team of people? This is your first time managing people, right?
It was my first time managing people. And what's even crazier is I was now managing people who had trained me just 3 years before. So I was technically now the manager of, veteran ambassadors. And I'm like, they're probably looking at me like, what does this girl know? Like, she's not going to tell me what to do. And I have to say, this job is tough, but one of the toughest parts is managing people because, no one is alike, right? I mean, there is more than 25 ambassadors. There's probably like 35, 40 ambassadors. And there is no formula to be an ambassador. You have to be a kind, hardworking person who likes to have fun, who likes to make people happy. But other than that, the ambassadors are from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different, life experiences. And now all of a sudden I'm expected to manage them. Like, holy crap. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it's like, oh my goodness.
Crap is not a swear word.
No, I know that, but I didn't know if I could say something.
I was like, okay, you're definitely a mom of two. Like, crap, it's okay.
Oh boy, I'm sorry. No, but like, oh my goodness, I'm in charge now. And I had to figure it out. I mean, I had to figure out my way, because your way was not my way. Sarah's way is not necessarily my way. I had to figure out what was going to work for me in this position and how to gain. I already had respect from my colleagues. I think that was one of the reasons why I was a good fit for the role, because I had worked so hard and I was well respected by the other ambassadors. But it still wasn't easy. And it's still not always easy. But what I figured out is, because not every person's alike, you have to manage different people differently, and you have to know what they're going to respond to, and more importantly, what they're not going to respond to.
Yes, that was, man, now you're taking me back. Like, I remember when I first had to like manage it, and like, you were probably on the other side. And I was like, I remember like sitting there and Sarah was late for something and all the ambassadors are just looking at me. And she was like, well, go tell them, like, go lead it. And I was like, oh, you want me to do this?
Oh,
okay. I'm on. Like, and I think at the time I was still a coordinator, and I was like, oh shit, like these people are going to listen to me. Like, this one guy is a retired superintendent. Like, he has more experience than like I've had in the last, like, since I started my career. Like, like, what do I do? Right. And like, so it's almost like, and it's part of the reason I started this coaching business was because organizations move so quickly, and then there's a right person for the job, and you check a lot of the boxes, but not all of them. Like, you don't have management experience. Yeah, well, we'll think she can figure it out. And that's how I felt like it was for me, was for you. And it's for a lot of people, it's like, first time managing, here you go.
Right. Just going to throw you into the fire. See what happens.
Good luck. And I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of the courses that they, like, the organization will do sometimes, like, oh, we're going to have a management essentials courses from the local, whatever school or whatever. And it's like, well, shit, where was that like 5 years ago? That's when I could have used it. Like, I remember we had it at the Cubs, and I was like, yeah, I wish I had this, like, when I first started.
Totally.
All these ambassadors staring at me for leadership. And I'm like, okay, I was a captain of my soccer team. I can figure this out. Right.
Right.
Like, I think
I have leadership qualities. I know it.
Yes.
I know they're in me. I know
How
do I make it work here?
I know I got it somewhere. What advice would you give women who are thinking about, hey, my next step is managing this team, but I have no idea what I'm doing? Some people want to go back to school. I don't think that's necessary. Like, what advice would you give them?
For me, I would say that I have learned more on the job than I could learn in any business class. And that's not to say that people shouldn't go back to school. If that's what you want to do, great. But that's just what has been my experience. But if I had to give advice to someone who was in my shoes, when I became full-time, I was 23 years old and thrown into this big job with so much responsibility. I would encourage young Stephanie Maneikis to have more conversations with those who were in leadership positions, at not just at the Red Sox, but in other organizations as well. How do you approach difficult situations? And I will say, I have leaned on Sarah McKenna so many times throughout the years on, okay, this is going on. How the heck do I handle this? It took me a while to get there and to feel like it was okay to ask for that help. And again, that's just something that I had to overcome, just being okay with asking for that help and saying, like, I have no friggin' clue how to handle this. Like, help me figure this out. And she's given me such invaluable advice because, anytime you have 35 different people, there's going to be some things that go on, and just figuring out the best way to handle them is hard. But I would encourage young me to have those conversations, to not be afraid to ask the questions, to not be afraid to ask for help. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned over the years, to realize when you have to raise your hand and say, and it's not a weakness, you're not failing. It's just saying, I need a little bit of guidance here. I need a little bit of help. Because oftentimes when you're stuck in the mud, you're just stuck in and can't see what's above you, but you just need another outside opinion to help you see things more clearly. And then when you do, you're like, oh, okay, I can figure this out. I'm going off topic here, but like, I can handle this project, or I can talk to this person. But sometimes you're just so like wrapped up in it that it's hard to see yourself.
Yes, that's fantastic advice. I love that younger Stephanie. When you said that, I pictured you with like big glasses on, that picture. You guys won't get to see that, but it's a great
Inside
picture
joke,
of younger Stephanie with those big glasses on. The ones like you can kind of like see into the future. That's what they look like. So I think you hit on one thing, is that asking for help. I know that when I was at the Red Sox, I did not I thought asking for help was weakness. I thought I was supposed to have it figured all out, which looking back, you're like, wait, how in the world did you know how to do all that stuff unless you asked?
Totally.
Raising your hand now is so smart. Do it now while you're younger. And I mean, your advice is dead on. Like if you guys take anything from this episode or any of the podcast episodes that I have, this is great advice, is just asking for help and learning from people, but early on.
It's okay. Yeah. It's not a weakness. I tell folks that now, kids that work for me, I said, I would rather you ask the question. I would rather you ask the question so that I can help you figure out this situation. And you know what? If you don't ask the question and something bad happens, we'll figure it out together. But, I think that's something that you and Sarah always hammered home with us. Like, if at the end of the day, you tell me that you were trying to do the right thing, I'll always have your back. I'll always back you up. And that's something that I've carried with me. And I have really tried to ingrain amongst the ambassadors that I have now, like, it's okay to make a mistake, but let's figure out how we can learn from it and, ask for help in the future.
Yes. Yeah. How do you recover from those failures, whether they're big or minor? And how do you do something different in the future? Like that's only going to help you grow and be stronger. It is okay to fail. I have a consulting client in this organization, like their motto is, it's something along the lines of like, it's okay to fail. Like they say it a lot better than I'm saying it right now, but their entire guest services department, that's how all of the managers think. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. They talk about it all the time. I was like, oh, that kind of culture, like just sometimes you need to hear it. Just when your director is telling you it's okay for you to fail, it doesn't mean you're going to go out and like half-ass everything and fail. You're just not going to operate under fear. And when you're operating, under fear, it's so much harder to be the best version of yourself. Like you're not going to do your best work when you're afraid of
when you're
failing.
Constantly stressing. Yes. Yeah. I think that's just good life advice too, right? I mean, it's okay. It's okay to fail sometimes. It's okay to make mistakes, to not be perfect, to not get straight A's all the time. Whether you're 10 years old or 40 years old, it can relate to every situation in life.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Thinking back, I'm like, gosh, so hard. Like I could not get straight A's, but the pressure to get them is ridiculous.
The self-imposed pressure too. I mean, I will say, sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this podcast, but I remember the time I brought home like a C+ in math in 7th grade, and that was just not acceptable. But the self-imposed pressure, I think particularly on women is just insane. The pressure to be perfect, to be put together, to be the perfect employee, to be the perfect wife, mother, whatever. It's exhausting. And it's something that I have a greater appreciation for over the past 5 years. And it's really exhausting and it's hard. And, it's easier said than done. And I'm like, okay, pot, calling the kettle black here. I'm still putting that pressure on myself. And in some ways that self-imposed pressure has helped propel me to where I am today. I have no doubt, but it can take its toll.
Yes. We could do a whole episode on like, how do you have that balance, right? Like you have that ambition and you want to do well and you put all this pressure on yourself. But then when do you like just kind of, scale back isn't the right words, but I don't know.
It's a break.
It's hard. Like I think about it all the time. Like, I'm like 1,000 miles a minute. And like, I love what I'm doing, but I'm also putting so much pressure on myself, like to the point of burnout. Right. And this is throughout my whole career. This has been like a theme. It's something that I haven't figured out yet, but at least I guess the awareness of knowing that it's there and I'm doing it in that cycle.
Yes.
Yes. I always feel like these episodes are like my therapy session.
Right?
Like,
I know this is a therapy session. Can we schedule one every week, please?
Seriously.
Hey, Jahaan here. I hope you're enjoying the interview. I'm sure you are thinking about your own career right now and how you can pull out in front of the pack to take your career to the next level. For 18 years, supporting women in sports has been my favorite part of my career, and I would love to support you. Whether it's joining my free Game of Her Own community or one of my one-on-one coaching programs, I am here for you. Send me a message at jblake@jahaanblake.com or DM me on Instagram @jahaanblake, and let's schedule a time to have a free session. I cannot wait to hear from you. All right, let's get back to why you're here.
All right. I know that you are a coordinator. Obviously, you have moved up to become a VP, which is incredible. Tell us what that process was like, because you were having to advocate for yourself to become a manager, to become a director. I don't know if there was a senior director in there, and then a VP. And I remember every time like it would pop up on like LinkedIn, like that you got a promotion, I'd be like, yes, Stephanie. Like I just keep like watching you move up. So like now I get to ask you, like, what was that like, and how was it hard? Was it difficult to advocate for yourself?
It's been a long time. I've been here for a long time now. And in one way, it all feels like a blur. I'm like, I blinked and like, how did this happen? I blinked and it's 2021, but I will say there was one year where I did, I guess, go to bat for myself or advocate for myself, not necessarily for a promotion or for the title, but for salary increase and what I wanted. And I've never been more, it was the first time I've ever done that, really. Not really ever, actually. It was the first time I've ever done that. And I was the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life. Like when I tell you, I was unprepared. I was totally unprepared. I said all the wrong things. I cried. I was emotional. I apologized. I said, I'm lucky to have this job. Like I literally read that book, Knowing Your Value, probably like 3 weeks later. And I was like, oh, I did it all wrong. Did it all wrong. Okay. But, ultimately I got what I wanted. I was successful, and, I know that Sarah went to bat for me, and it wasn't an easy conversation for her either. Those never are, right? But looking back now, I wish, again, telling young Stephanie of however many years ago that was, how to handle it. Don't cry. Like, don't say you're sorry. Don't apologize for asking for what you know you are worth or what you know you deserve. So that is definitely probably not my brightest, most shining moment that I'm proud of, but I am proud of myself because I did it, because it took a lot of guts for me, because I don't like conflict. You know me, Jahaan, like I want everyone to get along. I want everyone to like me. And that's something I'm working on still, because not everyone's going to like me, but I don't like conflict. So for me to actually be able to go into that office and say, hi, I would like to talk to you about my salary for next year, regardless of how I handled it, and regardless of if I did it the quote right way or wrong way, that was a big step for me to be able to actually advocate for myself.
Man, so like I wish I was like a fly on the wall for that conversation, only because you said I was unprepared, said all the wrong things, and you were, saying things like sorry, and you cried. So like, what shouldn't people say based on your experience?
Don't say, I'm sorry for asking. Don't say, I feel lucky to have this job. Be strong, be confident, be assertive. For me, and I do remember one thing that I believe I handled well in that conversation. I said, I have been told recently about, how much the organization respects what I do and wants to invest in me and wants me here for the future. And I said, that wasn't shown in my salary increase from last year. So let's make sure. So I think that was the one kind of win I had in terms of what I said. But yeah, I shouldn't have apologized. Why should I be sorry for asking what I know I deserve? Or, I shouldn't have said I'm lucky to work here. The Red Sox are lucky to have me, right?
Yes, it's true.
But it's like, you don't want to be so I'm awesome, because that's just not me either. That's hard for me I've never been like that. Like I don't want to tell people that I went to Harvard. I'm not like a showy person, but yeah, it was a difficult conversation for sure. But I would encourage anyone who is considering having one to bite the bullet and do it, because looking back, I am proud of myself for that.
Yes. See, and I think like, okay, you did some things wrong. That's how you're defining those. You're saying you did some things wrong, but moving forward, all right, next time I'm not crying. Next time I'm not saying I'm grateful for this job. Like, thank you so much for like keeping me here. Like, no, that's not what we're doing next time. We're not doing that anymore. And sometimes you just have to live through those things. So for those of you who are listening and you go through something and you just like bomb it, it's okay. It's almost like you get it out of your system and you won't do that again. You just know like, oh God, I don't know why I did all that stuff, but it's not happening again. I learned from that. And it also worked too, right? Because you got it
did work. It did work. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for listening to me and for realizing that even though I was saying all the wrong things.
Yes, look at that. So it can happen. You can mess up and still get what you want.
Absolutely. It worked out for me, and I'm so glad that it did. But yeah, next time, if and when I do that again, I sure won't be crying.
Right. Right. And where's the crying from? For me, I cry like when I'm just like, there's so much writing on it. And I'm just like, all of a sudden tears just start coming out and I have no control,
Yeah.
like no
It is.
control.
I think a part of it is just that natural, your body, that's like the fight or flight, right? It's like the fight or cry response. I mean, that's how I think, I think what happens to me. But I think knowing that that could happen, just being prepared for that moving forward and, working on whether it's controlling your breathing or just focusing on a certain thing in the room. And yeah, it just happened. But I was also scared. I didn't, like I said, I mean, I don't like when people are mad at me. And I was afraid that Sarah would get mad at me for asking that question and thinking like, Jesus, here we go. Like another person who wants more money. And so I think that I had that anxiety. I was carrying that anxiety with me. So when I started talking about it, it all just kind of came out.
Yes, I know that exact feeling. And I wasn't asked. So I landed like one of my biggest consulting clients and I was like, oh my God, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like you have this vision and then you're like, oh shoot, they gave me all that money. Oh my God, they're depending on me. So like, it was like, and I had sold them on all the stuff that I could do. It was like training. Like for me, I could do training in my sleep. So I'm like, okay, today's the first training. And I don't know what happened, but like a half hour before training, I just started crying.
Oh my goodness.
I had no, and like, but everything was virtual, right? Like, so like, if it wasn't virtual, probably I would have cried the day before I went. But like, my husband's just standing in the kitchen and he's just hugging me. So, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know what's happening. Like, why
is happening to me?
Tears coming out, I mean, I got it together, delivered the training. My client is texting me while I'm training, being like, you are so inspiring and saying all these nice things. So I'm like, okay, I nailed it. And I had no doubt that I was going to nail it, but it was just the emotions like got the best of me. And it happens sometimes. You guys, you may cry. And some of you are like, whatever, I never cry. Good for you. But like those of you who are like, us and have emotions and tears come out, it's okay. It's all in how you handle it. Don't do what I did once. I thought I was going to cry and I was in the middle of a conversation with Sarah McKenna and I was so angry that I just left the room. Don't do that. Luckily, Sarah is a very, very patient person. Well, patient with me in that moment, I should say, and let that go and didn't fire me. So if you have emotion, it's okay. Let people see you. It's all right.
We are human.
Yes, exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. Harvard, Red Sox, China trip, back to Red Sox, your journey from Fenway ambassador making minimum wage to becoming a vice president. And along the way, you met your husband, Fenway, and then he works with you. When I say at Fenway, I don't mean like a fan. So
that'd be a story.
It sure would. Now you have two, I can't believe this, two beautiful baby boys. Like you're still doing the thing. You're still working.
Still doing it.
What is that like? And I know that I've talked to some women who are not even pregnant yet, not even married yet. Well, you don't have to get married to have a baby, but like they are thinking like, well, I don't know if I want to start a job because I don't know if like I'm going to want to still work once I have kids. Like, I don't know if I can do it all. Like,
I was that person. Sarah will tell you that.
Stop it. Really?
She like clearly remembers this conversation where we were talking about the future. Maybe it was a year-end review or whatever it was. And I said something to the effect of, well, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this, like when I have kids. And she was like, well, Steph, you should get a boyfriend first. Like, which is hilarious, but also true. Like, didn't even have a boyfriend at the time. And I'm worrying about balancing work as a mother. Like, but
oh my God.
I was that person. I was always that person thinking like 3 steps ahead. How am I going to handle this situation? How will I handle this when that happens? And her point, we have a great relationship, so I wasn't offended that she said that. But her point was kind of like, wait to worry. You'll figure it out when that happens. But until then, just keep grinding. Just keep doing what you're doing because you're doing great. And now that I'm in it, I totally get. And she's a mom too, so she knew what she was talking about. But I totally get it because every day is crazy and hectic and wild. And I thought I was busy before, and I thought I had trouble balancing work life before. Now you just figure out a new way to do that. And Sarah's been great. The Red Sox have been great with me. And, my husband, Kevin, oversees baseball PR for the club. And, he's gone a lot. He's working nights and he doesn't have some of the flexibility that I have. So a lot of it comes down to me figuring out, okay, well, this day I can't be there all game or even to the start of the game. I got to get home and do the mom thing from 5 to 7:30. And then I'm going to turn my computer back on and do another 3 to 4 hours of work. Or some nights I don't, because I don't have, it's not necessary, but you just figure out a new way to work. And at the end of the day, my work is getting done. I'm still getting it done well. And I'm still, in my mind, I hope, performing at a high level. Certainly, I'm a little more scattered than I think I was before. I like to think I'm still doing a good job and just trying to be the best mom and best employee that I can still be. And I watched Sarah go through it when her kids were younger and I was single, unattached person. I was like, whoa, like what's going on with her? And now I totally appreciate and respect that. Her struggle, her daily struggle, and the daily struggle of all moms, whether you're working at home or working in the house. And it's a lot, but yeah, I love it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing at that reaction to Sarah. What's going on with her? But I can totally hear you saying that and thinking that, like, in all the different situations as Sarah gracefully raised 2 children.
She wasn't given the flexibility that I've been given.
No. I'm saying this a lot lately and it's starting to like bother me, but this was 20 years ago.
We old.
It was different 20 years ago.
We walked barefoot in the school to snow, in snow to school.
Oh man, I can't believe we're in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so you love it, you wouldn't change it, and you're figuring it out, is what I'm understanding you say. Like you're figuring it out as you go along, and you're giving yourself some grace when you're a little scatterbrained because it's new.
It's new, it's different. And some days I'm like, I'm killing it. I'm winning. I'm like the best employee. I'm the best mom. And some days I'm like, wow, my kids are going to eat, Elio's pizza again. And I'm going to crawl into bed at 7:45 because I need this day to just be over. Every day is different.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. I don't have children, but I know those days where I'm like, I'm just going to have Elios I love Elios, by the way. I'm going to have, seriously, I introduced my husband to it too. He loves it. So I'm like, I'm going to have Elios and I'm going to get into bed at like 7, maybe like 8:30. Like, that's it. I got nothing left.
Yeah,
and it's okay. Yeah. So if you guys feel that way, like, and you don't have children, that's okay too. It's okay to be a hot mess when you're only taking care of yourself. That's all right.
Totally. And JB, you just said something that we've been talking a lot about here amongst the ambassadors, giving yourself some grace. And that was Megan Hoffman, formerly Megan Benavides, Meg B, one of the 2007 class ambassadors, said that to me when we were going through getting the season rolling at reduced capacity and not really knowing what's going on and everyone just being like, what are we doing? Like, no one's, vaccinated yet. And it was scary and different. She said, Steph, you just got to give yourself a little bit of grace. These are crazy times and we're figuring it all out, but we'll do it together. And I think that's a great lesson to apply for everyone, no matter if you're in a global pandemic or not. Just give yourself some daily grace because you can't do everything the best way every single time. You can't win every day. You're not going to win every day. Right. But I think accepting that and knowing that and being okay with that is a big thing.
Yeah. All things I wish I knew in 2002 when I started.
Yep.
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
All right. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Ooh, okay. I'm ready.
All right. 12 questions. First thing that comes to mind. What is your favorite sports moment?
David Ortiz, Grand Slam, 2013 World Series.
Yeah, you definitely have to say the year because he had a lot of those. What is something people always get wrong about you?
That I am Greek. Maneikis. Everyone thinks Maneikis is Greek. It is not. It is Lithuanian.
What is one food you wouldn't want to give up?
Pasta.
Yeah. Are you a morning or night person?
I am a morning person.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
What job would you be absolutely horrible at doing?
Probably taxes.
Yeah. What product would you seriously stockpile if you found out they weren't going to sell it anymore?
Keurig instant coffee.
What's your favorite app?
Oh, my favorite app? I'm going to go with Instagram.
Yeah, same. Who is your biggest inspiration in life?
My mom.
As a child, what did you wish to become when you grew up?
A horseback rider. I read the Saddle Club. I've never ridden a horse in my life.
So far, the top two answers to that question are Britney Spears and now a horseback rider.
Just really like the Saddle Club books.
Oh my God, I did not read those. I'm glad I did it. Finish this sentence. Last question. The future of women working in sports is?
The future of women working in sports is high.
Yes. Love it. This has been an amazing conversation. I have loved watching your career soar since we last worked together. Every time I see something when you're like senior director, vice president, I'm like, yes. And I think I text you every time and I'm like, yes, I'm so excited for you. And I'm not surprised at all. So thank you for spending some time with us. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can email me at smaneikis@redsox.com. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Steph M. Gregg. I think Jahaan will share it when the podcast goes live. But yeah, always willing to say hello and offer any sage advice I have.
Awesome, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jahaan.
So what did you think of this episode? Do you know another woman who works or is aspiring to work in sports? Would you do me a favor and share this with them? It would mean so much if together we could support and inspire other women on their journey. And let's stay connected. I love meeting and talking to new people. Follow me on Instagram at Jahaan Blake and join the free Game of Her Own community by visiting jahaanblake.com. I can't wait to meet you.